Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, Iowa on the road playing USC. We did this preview and prediction episode back on Sunday afternoon, and we had a slight idea that weather might be a factor. Well, we're sitting here Friday afternoon. I think it's fair to say that weather is going to impact this football game. It sounds like it's going to be raining. If not the majority of the game, it might be raining the whole damn time this game is going to be played. How does that impact this game? How does that impact this matchup? Because I'll say this, I think it certainly does. Now, I might have my own opinion. I do think it's interesting to note that the spread for this football game on Sunday afternoon was 6.5 points. That was the opening line. Like, fast forward to where we sit Friday afternoon, everybody and the mothers know it's going to be raining. The line hasn't moved. Like, Vegas does not feel like the weather is going to impact the outcome of this game the way I might do. So I think that's worth noting right off the bat. USC was 6.5 point favorites on Sunday. Friday afternoon, the 6.5 point favorites today. Might that change over the next 24 hours? That certainly could be the case, but I do want to dive into how the weather might impact this game. And look, let's just get the cat out of the bag right away. This is having weather in this game certainly favors Iowa. Iowa was going to come on the road to the Coliseum and they were going to run the football whether it was 75 and sunny or pouring rain, right? USC is a little bit more multidimensional. They have a very explosive passing attack that might be hard to get off the ground when it's pouring rain outside. That's number one. What are some other factors that the weather could impact? That's what I want to get into. I've had a lot of USC fans reach out and ask me how I think the weather impacts this game, and let's get into it. Before we do, and as always, Iowa fans, USC fans, hey, sneaky. I did not remember Kirk Ferentz saying what he said about USC way back in, I think, 2023. Been on Twitter and been on the message boards, and there's a little bit of, I don't know if I'd say bad blood, but maybe a little bit of a rivalry, or I shouldn't say rivalry. The emotions are high from both of these fan bases seemingly going into this game, and I'll say this, love it. I think that's what college football is about. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And without further ado, let's get into it. Now, again, biggest impact on this game is, and why I think it favors Iowa is Iowa was not planning on throwing the football even if the weather was fine, right? They haven't thrown the football all year. They certainly haven't thrown the football successfully all year. Well, USC has. It's one of the better passing attacks that we see in the country. How well is USC able to throw the football and be two-dimensional in this football game? Certainly a conversation. Now, take it back to USC in 2023 or even in 2024, I'd have some legitimate concerns because you could make the argument back last year and even in 2023 with Caleb Williams, this USC offense was a little bit one-dimensional towards the passing attack, right? I'm looking at this version of USC in 2025. This will drop a lot of the jaws from the Iowa fans, but these are just the numbers. USC's averaging 5.8 yards per carry. It's top 10 in the country. There have not been many better rushing attacks in the country than USC. And so USC having to lean into the run game potentially a little bit more in this game, I don't think is as damning as it has been in years past for Lincoln Riley and USC. The goal still remains the same on USC's defense, and that is, hey, we got to do everything we can to stop the run. That is schematically with maybe some five-man fronts. That is putting a safety into the box. That is playing with three linebackers, whatever. Coach Lennon here, I do have a note I'd like to make, and that could favor USC in this game, and that is, well, Coach Lynn has a whole game worth of film from last weekend in terms of how Iowa likes to call a football game when weather is at play, because the weather was at play last weekend when Oregon went on the road and played Iowa. You got a sense of the concepts in the plays that Iowa is most running when the game is being impacted by rain. That should help Coach Lynn. Like, you have a full game of, hey, what could Iowa potentially be looking to get to? What are they comfortable getting to? when it's raining out. I think that could help Coach Lynn. Ain't no doubt about that. But the objective remains. It's no secret what Iowa's going to try to do, whether it's raining, whether it's 75 and sunny. They're going to run the football. For USC, how do you run the football if you have to be a little bit more one-dimensional? If the passing attack can't really get going because of the rain, how does USC run the football? Number one, you have to mention it, ball security, because you look at USC's running back room and say you got a redshirt freshman in King Miller, you got a redshirt freshman in Brian Jackson, and you got a true freshman in Harry Dalton. Those are the three running backs that we expect to get carries in this game. They're youngsters. I think they're all pretty damn solid football players, especially King Miller, but they're young. So you're emphasizing ball security to young backs going into this one. I think this too. Get Jaden involved. Like Jaden using his legs. Look, he ain't no Lamar Jackson, but we always knew there was some juice there with Jaden. At the very least, he's 6'4", he's 225. He's a hard guy to bring down that can get going when it's in a straight line. This might be a game that if you're a little bit one-dimensional, if you're going to be one-dimensional running the football, you got to run it in a lot of different ways. Getting Jaden involved, I think certainly could be a factor in this game. And I think lastly, you want to continue to make sure your best football players have a chance to impact this game. Most notably, Mekhi Lemon. If it's going to be raining, if it's going to be a little bit sloppy, if it's going to be harder to throw the football and get Mekhi Lemon the ball through the air, get him involved in the run game. Give him some end arounds. He's a guy that probably could line up in the backfield and kind of be a sneaky utility weapon there as well. Look, I trust Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley's a Jimmy's and Joe's guy. He is going to make sure Mekhi Lemon's involved. Feels big to make sure the weather does not impact Mekhi Lemon's ability to impact the football game. We say this all the time, man. Football is about Jimmy's and Joe's. It's about your players. Get your best players, the football. Good things are going to happen. And that is, to me, the fundamental advantage USC has. Look, the weather favors Iowa, but USC has more difference makers. Get them the football, allow them to win this football game for you. Number two, turnovers will play a factor, right? You look at the numbers when it is raining, 25% increase in turnovers, right? Now, here's the kicker. What defense do you think averages more turnovers forced per game? Most years you would say Iowa, and that's probably been correct over the last 2 decades of the sport. This year, USC averaging 1.7 takeaways per game. That is 30th in the country. That is more than Iowa. You have a feeling that turnovers are going to impact this game. Who wins the turnover battle? Because if you're a USC fan, I think one of the bigger concerns is this is a very opportunistic Iowa defense. This is an Iowa defense that has historically won games because they impact the game. If you're Jaden, more importantly, if you're Lincoln Riley, you're making sure you're drawing up plays for Jaden where the ball is not going to be put in harm's way all that often. And if you're Jaden, you have to make sure you're consistent with taking care of the football. Like there's 2 different versions that we've seen from Jaden. We've seen some really freaking good versions when he's playing his best football and taking care of the ball. Going back to 2024, we've seen a reckless quarterback that is a little too comfortable putting the ball in harm's way. You got to make sure you get the version of Jaden that's taking care of the football, because that's how Iowa's going to want to stay in this game here. Like they're going on the road. How do they continue to keep this close and give themselves a chance to win it in the fourth quarter? If this defense can impact the game, we'll see who wins the turnover battle. Again, keeping the ball out of Iowa's hands is hard. They're very good at forcing turnovers. Special teams, like how big of a factor is special teams? And that is punt coverage. That is fielding punts. That is field goal kicking. One of the storylines here is Iowa historically very, very good in the special teams department. USC's been the better team kicking field goals. And look, field goals might matter in this game. I don't see this game going into the 30s, like 24-21, 17-21. Like field goals matter. Teams that when they have chances to put points up on the board, that gonna matter. USC's been nails kicking field goals. They've been top 6 in the country in field goal percentage. Versus Iowa sitting at 75%. That's 82nd. Fielding punts. Yeah, Iowa's got a very, very dangerous punt returner. you got to make sure you go down the field and tackle, and you want to make sure you're fielding punch the right way. And I'll say this, that favors USC. I mean, Mekhi Lemon, if my life was on the line and I needed somebody in college football, and I'm knocking on wood here, but if my life was on the line and I needed somebody to just go catch the football and punt return, Mekhi Lemon is the guy that I'm probably calling up to do that, right? He's been very, very reliable as a punt return. Does not muff many punts. Got to be clean in that situation too, or that scenario. Last one that probably does favor USC, because look, the rain favors Iowa, right? Like they would prefer this game to be sloppy and rainy and low scoring. Explosive plays are going to matter. I don't think it's going to be the prettiest game for either of these offenses if it rains as much as the forecast is telling us, right? What team can generate those game-changing plays? And this is the one metric that significantly favors USC. When it's rainy, you get guys slipping, right? And you get some blown coverages. Who can change the game more with explosive plays? You look at Iowa and say, hey, 127th in the country in 20-plus yard plays. That's in comparison to a USC offense that is top 10 in the country. And I think number 1 in the country in 40-yard-plus plays. It might not be super clean. Like, it might not be textbook offense from either of these offenses. What team can have 3 or 4 plays that change the game? You do trust USC to find those plays more often than not against Iowa. Going to be a fun one. Those are, I had 4 things, the passing attack, what team runs the football better, what team takes care of the football better, what team executes better on special teams, and what team creates more explosives. Those are the 4 storylines for me that the weather can impact. Who wins those 4 storylines is got a good chance to win this football game. We'll see how it plays out. Oh, this is some vintage Big Ten football, it sounds like. That's going to be going down in Southern California on a Saturday afternoon. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.